Alright, it is Wednesday, January 23rd, 2019 at 11:51 a.m. Let's take a look at some headlines. Alright, nurse arrested over U.S. care home patient pregnancy. Police in Arizona say they have arrested a nurse after a patient at a care facility gave birth. Apparently, this news story I had made a video about it earlier. And apparently what happened was a patient that was being taken care of and was in a coma was raped and gave birth to a baby boy, and nobody knew what happened. And this is the article solving what happened. The suspect has been named as Nathan Sutherland, 36, who worked at the Hacienda Healthcare Clinic. He is being charged with one count of sexual assault and one count of abusing a vulnerable adult. The 29-year-old patient, who had reportedly been in care of the clinic since she was a toddler, gave birth on December 29th. Staff at the facility said at the time they were unaware she was pregnant until she went into labor. A child, a boy, is now in care of the patient's family. After the birth, a police investigation into the sexual assault was launched, and DNA samples were collected from the male staff. The CEO of Hacienda Healthcare was resigned over the incident, and earlier this week the clinic announced 2 members of staff have left the facility. The patient's family have described her as having significant intellectual disabilities and says she cannot speak but has limited movement and can respond to sounds. A lawyer for the relatives previously described them as outraged, traumatized, and in shock at the assault. At a news conference on Wednesday announcing the arrest, Phoenix Police Chief Jerry Williams said the case had become the highest priority for our police department. So they managed to give a DNA test and figure out who raped this person, and the person that raped her was Nathan Sutherland, who is 36, who worked at the healthcare clinic. And that is horrible for somebody who has been taken care since they were a toddler, and they're now 29 years old, and they couldn't move and couldn't speak, and that guy just raped her, and she had a baby. That is just horrible. Alright, next article. Watch the moon get rocked by a meteorite during the weekend's lunar eclipse. A rare sighting came as the moon became completely engulfed in Earth's shadow. A total lunar eclipse wowed sky watchers over the weekend, but for some keen-eyed observers, Sunday's blood moon came with an extra special treat: the first known sighting of a meteorite smashing into the moon during a lunar eclipse. The eclipse, which occurred overnight on January 22 to 21st, was streamed live online by several organizations, including the Griffith Observatory in Los Angeles and the Virtual Telescope Project. During the broadcast, at around 11:41 p.m. Eastern Time, some viewers noticed a brief flash of light on the top left quadrant of the moon. Jose Madeido, an astronomer at the University of Huelva in Spain, says the glint was caused by a meteorite that slammed into the lunar surface right as the moon became completely engulfed into the Earth's shadow, a phase during an eclipse that is known as totality. So apparently a meteorite crashed into the moon while it was having a lunar eclipse, and it's on a blood moon. That is pretty amazing. And you see here a picture of where the meteor struck and caused the glint on this picture. Alright. Next. Yellowstone warning. Scientists reveal Yellowstone at tipping point in dire new study. Yellowstone National Park stands on the brink of fiery disaster. Scientists have warned after studying the volcano's rapidly decreasing forest cover. Yellowstone volcano erupting is not the only dire threat facing the supervolcano complex. A new study of the national parks has found scientists studying the Yellowstone caldera landscape have found years of fire, drought, and spiking thermometers have pushed Yellowstone to the edge. A research paper published last week at the journal Ecological Monographs has warned Yellowstone forest stands at the tipping point of degrading into permanent grassland. Yellowstone faces widespread fires every 100 to 300 years on average, but much of the volcanic caldera's natural habitats have adapted to this cycle. The last major fire struck the supervolcano in the northeast in June 1988, setting ablaze the vast swatches of the park. Yellowstone's officials expected rainfall to contain the blaze, but July was a combination of dry weather and winds worsened the fires until September that year. At least 36% of the volcanic national park was affected by flames, costing up to $92.4 million in francs, or 120 million, in firefighting efforts. Scientists are now concerned warming climates mean Yellowstone forests are ill-equipped to recover from such damage. So we've been having a lot of Yellowstone warnings lately, from the magma rising and people keeping an eye on the magma rising and seeing if it could be a possible um, explosion of the volcano, to fires happening now, and it could be the tipping point for the forest cover of Yellowstone. It's always good to keep an eye on Yellowstone because you never know when that's gonna blow, if it's gonna blow in our lifetimes. Alright, next. Oscar Meyer accepting applications for Wienermobile drivers. If it was ever your childhood dream to drive the Wienermobile, and you currently have no occupational or familial obligations that would prevent you from finally achieving that dream, Oscar Mayer has a proposition for you. The Kraft Heinz owned company recently announced that it will be taking applications for the next fleet of Wienermobile or hot doggers, or aka drivers, through the end of the month. Oscar Wiener says hot dogs are sandwiches despite solid arguments against it. We are currently accepting resumes through January 31st for a one-year position beginning in June, reads the announcement posted online. Alright guys, so if you feel like driving a Wienermobile, now is the time to go apply for that. Alright guys, that's it for the video right now. Hit like and subscribe for more awesome news headlines. See you next time. God bless.